once again, good evening, all. It's been a short break. I know we last week we said there was going to be a break, but no, more news came up, so we're all here to talk about it with y'all. Welcome again to another edition of the Orange and Blue Bear podcast at the Bayou City Soccer. I'm your host Manny Oliveris. I thought there was going to be a while before we talk with you about roster decisions. Houston, they always like to release their reports late, sometimes like weeks after everyone does. But here we are, faster than anyone expected. But good to hear to chat with you all about it. I'm not here by myself. Diego is also excited to talk about this. What's up, Diego?
How we doing? How we doing? Happy to be here. As Manny said, a long time no see, I guess. Yeah, I was fully prepared to just come back to Houston next week and just not have a show to do and then kind of just float away into the off season. But we've got breaking news and we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, a bunch of roster decisions, a bunch of fun awards from our very own U.S. Women's National Team star. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm always just happy to talk some Dash, whether it's game one or right sitting on the couches in Cancun in the off season. So I mean, I think it's I'm glad that it was sooner rather than later. That way we can just keep on carrying that momentum and finish off strong with a good show.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a lot of things to talk about, lots of things to see and just to reflect on just the rosters. I know we saw this coming. We saw maybe I think last week we talked about Angel City was the first the team to release their roster decision. So it was real. It was like a matter of time before everyone else comes with the roster decisions. But I think Houston being Houston, I feel like always Houston is always one of the last teams to announce their roster decision. Always, but I feel like you know it's a good quick start. It's a good see okay how things are going and see how really are you know things are going. So let's go get on to it. It was announced. Uh, I think this week on Monday that the roster decision stock came out for the Houston Dash. Nine players were out of contract. Of course, Chloe Ricketts was the obvious one that was departed due to her contract situation. The Dash scholar for 10K for 4 games, but only played for 17 minutes. So you already know about that rant. But the list of the players that went on free agent are Belle Breed, Nadia Cooper, Evelina Dujan, Ryan Garris, Anna Helfredi, Katie Lynn, Abby Smith, and according to the initial post, Amanda West, but that later that was rectified that Amanda was actually still on contract with the Houston Dash, so she is still back in the squad. Before we talked about anything else, I think your thoughts about those players leaving or going to free agency tomorrow.
I mean, certainly the first outlook that I think is you mentioned free agency and not necessarily a token of leaving. I think a player like Ryan Garris, I felt like I know everyone here at BCS is a little pessimistic on her performances in her first 3 years as a player. I think I see a lot of optimism with Garris. I think her speed, her versatility, and her ability to push forward. I think especially throughout the second half of the season, it was excellent. And I think um, if we keep developing her into kind of the player that she can be, like a dynamic maybe midfielder in the attacking sense, and kind of be somebody that can help push forward and help a player like Yasmin Ryan, I think that would be invaluable. So even if she's going into free agency, I would at least explore an option of keeping her or re-signing her to a new contract or whatever. I think Abby Smith, it was kind of a surprise that like um, the club would be parting ways because of the fact, like, yeah, she had great performance, but um, I mean, I don't think a question was really put into place of whether she was really going to compete for that number one spot. I think every time that Jane just came back, she came back in an elite way. Um, Amanda West, I think it was smart to keep her. I think we haven't seen enough of her to really gauge an opinion. And I think the team is is really optimistic about her, and I'm excited to see where that ends up. But I'm more into the conversation of, we see these players leave. Dujan, a player that got some minutes earlier in the season and then kind of like teeter away into the roster. We got rid of these players. Who are we trying to like really instill in order to get those minutes? And especially considering all of these players for the most part were really like players that would get, like, let's just say 15, 20 minutes a game. And I think you need kind of those players to really create like a deep squad. And so many, I have a question of like, we are letting these players go. Who do you really have in mind, or what do you really have in mind when it comes to kind of next season, and who or what type of players we want to bring in?
I think as well, it's really interesting how the type of the players that are left. I think the obvious ones, of course, when you see the list, Bell, Breed, you know, I think last season she played quite a bit in the midfielder, and this season she just disappeared. So I think like literally she only played like maybe I could you know like less than 20 minutes. So it's like she only had one appearance, and it was like that's pretty much it. And so after that, her name was on the wall. Caitlin, a well servant of the club. I think 2 or 3 years ago, she won the Iron Woman of the NWSL. Played every minutes in the NWSL, and so and was like Miss Houston for a while before Jane took over that title. And so it's like she served quite a bit, but I think as well maternity leave I think didn't really help her and her development and her game. I feel like she lost a lot of her edge, not just for her own. I know it just some players come back like it's nothing. If some players it takes a toll on them, and unfortunately for Caitlin, it has taken a toll on her performance. That's why maybe she was favored out of the team. Um, I think with that, you see, with that, I think you're missing a lot of midfielders and forward players that you are leaving with. I think the Dash did release that they're still talking with some of these free agents to see which ones they're going to bring back. Honestly, for me, the only one that I could see maybe coming back is Evelina, just because she is young, but yet a little bit experienced of the group because she has been playing in Europe ever since she was 17, 18. So she does have, some experience and maturity out of this group. Here in the NWSL, some of the rookies start at 22, 23. You know, and so she is still constantly called up for Sweden for the U23. So there's some things to be looking at. Maybe it's just age and development that she needs to grow. So Ryan Garris, I'm 50-50 with them. I'm just because rookie season, I think she had a good rookie season. Maybe not in stats wise, but she offered explosiveness and quickness. Passing was off a little bit, but her quickness and defensive helped her a lot in situations. Of course, they didn't help with constant injuries, as well in maternity leave, put her out on the side, so it was very hard to gauge with that. I think is that, but I think for me, I think what's the main issue is that these players left because they were not competing for the or doing enough to get players from the star 11 reason to bench them. I think because we're looking for you're not looking for numbers, you're looking for competition. I think sometimes it's easier to fill the squad than filling them with competition because I think as always the saying, you always want to add when you're on top. You always want to make moves. You can't just be content. If you won a title, you can't just be content. Let's roll the season again with new players. No, you want to add players to keep that edge, that competition. And I think for the Dash, it's just not just say we won the title or nothing. It's just the players that we had, they didn't really compete with the players we had. And so especially in the forward area, I feel like no one was competing against. I feel like you knew uh every game going in, like what's your starting a forward lineup because none of the other players were competing against them. Like if you switch this player for this player, you're like, is it an upgrade? More, it was more like sort of a downgrade, or maybe a upgrade on certain aspects of the game, but not really a huge upgrade. So I feel like with these players leaving, you do have a lot of things to think about. Of okay, what should I need to do to do to upgrade in the areas. So let's just see. Let's break it down real quick. We have a chart right here. Let's break it down a little bit. What we have for the keepers.
We don't got Maggie Graham at left back.
We have two goalkeepers. What, bro? You broke out, but
Yeah, I bugged out, but we don't got Maggie Graham at left back. What is this?
damn, this man. You want to, bro, but it's up to you.
uh,
No, so it's interesting. I think you just want to break it down real quick. You got two goalkeepers. You have who has been recently called up for the US 23 again. Jane Campbell, of course. We got 10 defenders. Michelle Lozzi, of course, Avery Patterson, Malia Berkeley, with J.Y. Harris, who's still on loan. We got Paige Nielsen, Kristen Westfall, Zoe Matthews, who's still on loan. Dulugrano. You got left back, you got Lisa Boateng and Alicia Chapman. When you come to the midfielders, that's when you see the little thinness. It's real thin. Left mid, you got Kiki Van Zanten. Midfield, you got Danny Calabrico, Sophie Schmidt, who's barely recovering from her injury. Rebecca, who's still on loan with Zoya Dulugrano. Maggie Graham, who is recovering well from her injury, but still, we'll see how she is for the beginning season. Sarah Putigam. Down the right side, you got Yasmin Ryan. And then the quote unquote attacking midfielder, you got Delaney Sheehan. And then your strikers, you got, of course, you got Messiah Bright, Clarissa Larissi, and Amanda West. So just looking at the list, there's like a need in the midfielder and attacking area. Am I right, Diego, on saying that?
I feel like yeah, but I also think it's kind of like a bad situation to be in, considering how attentive the front office were in addressing these problems throughout the season. We see players like Larissa get signed and kind of I'll say maybe Graham get kind of fulfilled in that attacking midfielder spot, and especially Kiki coming back from injury. You see a lot of new faces really finally start gelling, and then you kind of see the depth chart now, and you're like, where is all of this? Where is all of the players that we saw have so much promise? And I think especially I would particularly like to see a backup for Kiki more than Yaz, because I think Yaz is going to be your starter 100%. But I feel like Kiki, considering like the development, you need to be a little more careful with that, and having competition on that flank would be really interesting. But again, like there's been so much attention in the attack and in the forward movement that it kind of shocks a lot of people that we're sitting in this position looking at like how thin this offense is.
Yeah, I think so. I think mm, I give Larissi one more year. Like I said, I'll give her like maybe like Lisa. I think we mentioned it in our Discord chat. Is Boyd a bust? I was like, not really, because she didn't have a full preseason. She came in rushing in to try and get fit for the last month or so for the game. So same thing. I give credit for Larissa as well, because even though she came a couple of weeks earlier than Lisa, but the only thing good thing was that the visa and everything. She's Canadian, so it was much easier to get the visa real quick to so her to play. But I think, but still, she has to had to do uh, get fit for the last 2 months of the season. So I would say give Larissa a full preseason and really evaluate her. I think that's my only thing about that. Unless Amanda West, we'll have to see from her injury. She did tore that ACL and she was done for the whole season. We're alone in Toronto. So we have to
Mhm.
see how she is back on that. I think my main thing is, of course, get another midfielder, holy midfielder, just because I'd say we'll start the season with Calaprico and Putigam, depending how Schmidt, Graham are to recover from their injury. So of course, I do believe we need another midfielder, and then we need
Mhm.
another just left mid, right mid, and attacking mid. Just because
Mhm.
we just need competition. I know what you're saying, Yasmin Ryan. I do believe Yasmin Ryan is the starter, but don't want her to believe that she is the star no matter what. You want some competition, like what you did
Yeah.
with Jan Campbell. Jan Campbell started to I think like lose her spark or lose her edge because she was going to be called, and so no matter what, and so you need that for Yasmin, right? You need someone competent, and also because you gotta think it's a World Cup year, like a World Cup qualifying for World Cup, and so teams are going to get called and called and called to qualifications for the Women's World Cup in 2027. So it's going to be a lot of games played for them as well, for Kiki and for Ryan, who Kiki, is a main star for Jamaica. Ryan, right now, she hasn't been called back to the US for this moment of time, but she might be called back when it's time for qualifications and for tournaments. So a lot of minutes will be called out for her. So you want another player to, in case of tiredness or she needs a break, you do want her to get at least a break to recover. And so, of course, and she had not saying she's a bad player. She's been a great player, but you do want an extra player, an extra body, competition just for competition, but also just for a case of injury. I feel like injuries come out to this team at the wrong time. Schmidt was the most clutch player in the end of the season, then boom, she got injured out of nowhere. Maggie Graham as well. She was a great player. Then it was not even during game that you got injured, like on the international week or during training. It's like, well, she's on the injured list, and it was like, what happened? It's like it just things like that that happen to soccer player. You don't want leave your team so thin. But I think, of course, my two question marks is, do we call back Zoe Matthews or Rebecca from their loan? I think they're playing not the best, but they're playing constant. And I think for me, Rebecca has been the one that's shined the most, and that she's been in and out starter, of course, except these past two matches because of her red card. But it's something to keep in mindful. But I think it's just something uh, about the. But any thoughts addition on the roster how it is right now?
No, I just think again, yeah, you make some good points about additions. I really like the point about Yaz. I never considered that. However, I think that Yaz is a little different because she hasn't proven herself in Houston. I think that's a solid
Yeah,
argument that's been made, and so I think she still needs to have this spark because nobody's convinced she is the Jane Campbell of Houston. Um, my question mark really goes to Clarissa Larissi or Larissi to really ask the question of is she really the striker that we're going to have for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Because that's what it was advertised for us, but you never know. So her first full season. Now she has two players.
yeah,
Now that Amanda's kind of like back into the swing of things. Um, are we gonna see output from her? I don't know. But I think if you look at this team versus the team with Diana Ordonez, Maria Sanchez, you see night and day. You see really a team, and I think that that's a positive that we can look at and say, okay, finally we have some direction here.
yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think we're not just saying the team with Barbara Olivieri and Maria Sanchez and Diana Ordonez were bad players, but they were more individual players. I think, sadly. And I know people in the comments or everything says that, well, Maria is doing such and such as or scoring goals, and Diana Dorian is having a season to remember at Tigres. I'm like, yes, that is true, but you see the level of competition drops in Liga MX. That's no disrespect to Liga MX Femenil. It's just, but when you see the competitions that NWSL have with Liga MX Femenil, NWSL always wipes the floor with them. You know, it's no competition on that point. I think even no matter it's friendlies, it's a competition, or even the women's Champions Cup. You see NWSL just dominate the Liga MX team, feminine team. So it's like the quality, even though they're in quote unquote the top tier club in Tigres, but you could just tell like just the ridiculous amount of goals they're scoring, just the quality level is different. And so it's like I'll give you the example of Liz Ovalle. She has really struggled. Not just saying she struggled like, oh my god, she's unplayable, but you're not seeing the numbers she's been doing that has done in Liga MX Femenil, like uh, goals and
Mhm.
assists every game. She hasn't been on her stride, and so that just shows the type of players is not sometimes are not fit for the NWSL. Easy comparison is like the men's Premier League. Not everyone could play the Premier League. The Premier League requires a special type of player. You know, if you're not cut up for it, you're not cut for that. And same thing with the NWSL. It's just a different type of league, different type of pressure. The parity is very real, so anyone can be anyone, and so it's very. If you can't make it, it is what it is. And we just have to move on. And so it's really good to look at it and to see the squad how it is. It's still uh, good to think about that. Just before we move on, give a key dates. To do mention some key dates for next season. Dash is on. Of course, off season starting from when they got eliminated, but they will start their pre 2026 preparation in January. The team will come back the week of the 19th, and of course the NWSL will schedule the blueprints. Blueprints comes out like next month, so hopefully we have a talk about that, the blueprints, the key dates to see how the schedule will be turned out. And of course, with that preseason starting early, the Dash will compete in Coachella Valley Invitational in February 14 to 22. So it's real interesting. And so how pretty much fast forward we're going. I feel like, today the Dynamo just really teased about the 2026 MLS schedule. I
I
was like,
saw. I'm like, oh
the,
my god, I can't wait for the regular
I'm like,
season
I'm
schedule.
like, I'm like, I'm like, the regular season for the MLS hasn't finished their season yet, and they're already teasing for 2026. I'm like, bro, chill.
Well, I'm at least
Yeah,
happy because it's
but
like,
it is what it is.
you
Just
know,
tell you the week. I know, but I think for me, like, don't tease the next season until your current season just ends.
their season's
You know?
over, man. Their season's
Yeah, I
over.
feel like
What do you want me to say? Their season's already over because they weren't good.
yeah,
I mean,
I know, I
like,
know,
I'm
but
gonna
just
ask
it's just
the
it's just
question
it's just pet peeve.
of
Like the MLS is a
how
MLS.
how many people from the Dynamo fan base, the very little fan base that we have, are going to think, wow, the Dynamo are not in the playoffs. Let me go tune in to see New York City FC without Alonso Martinez versus Philadelphia. None. Almost
Now
nobody.
I'm watching LAFC versus Vancouver.
Because you hate watching LAFC. Or no, you're an LAFC fan. I thought you were talking about the Galaxy. They
No,
didn't make they but okay, you're biased. Nobody is going to be watching these
no, but no,
games.
but
Let's
they're going to watch the messy games.
I just I just find it so hard to believe that a random like New York City versus Philadelphia, no Dynamo fans are gonna tune in and be like, yeah, that's the game I want to watch. And So like
I don't
I
know,
get
man.
it.
Oh,
Get it when the Dynamo are like, yeah, our season's over, so let's look on to the next one. Because, like, yeah, maybe a bunch of Dynamo fans who were there for the Messi game and saw no Messi, are gonna look at the Miami game, or maybe the Sun versus Thomas Muller like battle. Yeah, there's some narratives, but like, how many Dynamo fans are gonna sit there and say, "Wow, the Texans are on, the Rockets are on and currently really good with Kevin Durant. Let's go watch some LAFC." No, like people barely do that with the Dash, let alone other teams in MLS.
yeah,
So
the, the Texans depends. If they lose tomorrow, that's it.
all right, bro.
I'm
All right, bro. You're wearing a Texans shirt for God's sake. Like I, that's why my thing is like I'm
I
fine
know,
if the,
I know,
like
but like I'm just,
if the Dash tease the schedule now, I will not be
I'm,
upset because yeah, the season's over. We can look on to the next one. And since I'm someone that lives in two cities, I need to know where each game is gonna be. Because for those who know
yeah,
me, I do a tradition of like I go to an away game every year. I want to do one for the Dash next year. I don't want to do Dynamo because uh so I want to know where I actually want to go to, you know.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right on that point. It's just, I think because at the end of those teases the schedule, I'm like, I kind of sort of get it because the season ends this weekend. Just
Hmm.
that's that's my pet peeve. But I
Fair.
was like, but I think
That's
you don't like you because I'm just, I know we're going off topic. I was just like, but I was just
nah,
like,
and it's fine.
no, no,
There's
no.
not
It's
much
like
to talk about.
it's like the NBA doesn't do that. They don't tease the next season while the players are on. The
Mhm.
NFL don't tease the next season while while they're in the playoffs. Not even hockey or baseball does that. They do that after the season ends.
That's fair.
Af-
I just
yeah, I know that's like, but I could be in the minority of it. But like, if you see the other top spending leagues and you see your team does that, I'm like, kind of cringe. Is like the season is not over yet, even though we're out, but the season's not over yet. So it's like, but it's just if I think because I'm trying to put MLS on a higher standard because they made the counter change. The guys had to talk about that.
well,
Unfortunately, hopefully they make more changes.
mhm.
But it's just like they're trying to make themselves more serious and things like that kind of lowers it down a little bit. You're like, okay, why this team's teasing 2026, even though your leagues is still in effect. Maybe you're not in it, but it's still playing. You know?
That I understand, but I'm also like, what else are they supposed to do? Say, hey, let's go support Vancouver Whitecaps since LAFC is our rival. Like, they're not gonna do that. So they need
Just
to
just
like
just
they,
do more of the Dynamo history tweet they've been doing now, like this day in Dynamo history.
how much history do we have for that?
We got 20 seasons apparently.
Mm. 20 seasons and one of the best players in Dynamo history. I will quote me on this is Tommy McNamara. There you
Dang
go.
man, dang
Tommy
he made
Tommy McBuckets, who scored, if I remember, 0 goals for the Dynamo.
dang man, he pulling that from the bottom of the barrel at this point.
From the bottom of the barrel. And you know what? Don't care. I I think it's a great idea. I would love for the Dash to do it. I think there are maybe better ways to do it.
Exactly.
I think there are better ways to do it. I think doing it like, oh, our schedule's almost here. I think that's a little stupid. I agree with you on that. But there are better ways to tease a schedule, like some things in the works or building from last year. Something that like
Yeah.
can actually be used to generate things other than, hey, remember when Tommy McBuckets played 20? No offense, like genuinely, I don't mean any offense to Tommy McNamara. He was a great player for NYCFC. Like genuinely, he was so fun to watch. It just by the time he was with the Dynamo, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But so I'm just picking him because he was in my brain because I saw him in a YouTube reel a couple minutes before the show. Um, which again, you should be asking why am I watching a YouTube reel of Tommy McNamara highlights? But you know what? That's neither here nor there. But like I think there are better ways to do this.
Yeah.
since we're going onto a tangent and kind of to like wrap it up on NWSL terms, something that the NWSL does in an unconventional thing in soccer, instead in some instances, is have the final in a neutral site. You see it in the Champions League in both the men's and the women's. You see it in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Do you think we should have that in the NWSL? Or would you rather have it at the highest seed? That's going to be the last question of the Diego and Manny rant.
I think it's hard to say, bro. It's hard to say. I think if you go to America terms, of course, you
Mm-hmm.
would prefer to be highest seed. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
does it except the Super Bowl, but everywhere else, NBA, the World Series, as baseball, hockey, the highest seed gets favored and gets more home games, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so you earn that right. I think it has become so long the NWSL has done it in neutral site so that it doesn't phase me anymore. And fans actually do travel.
They
The
do. They
neutral, they do, even though it's last minute, but they do travel.
do. Mm-hmm.
So for it has worked for maybe not successfully, maybe not full out stadiums. I think you do see a shift if it's like the high seed host. I feel like it'll be a more packed, but of course you don't get that division as in I think you appreciate from like other competitions, like the Champions League and everything else, the World Cup, not the World Cup, but the Super Bowl. Like you try to see who of their fans dominates the stands. That's something you don't appreciate much because even though I get it, it's neutral. Sometimes hard for people to travel, but once you see that, I think you see the beauty of the game. You see the interest of the game. I feel like the NWSL is growing and more
Mm-hmm.
fans are showing up to finals now, even to just support the NWSL final itself, not even just supporting one team or the other. And I feel like that's a better growth for the NWSL.
Mm-hmm.
I think MLS shifted away from that because they were not getting the revenue they wanted. And I don't think the NWSL. I think of course they're interested in revenue because they need the revenue, but I feel like they are more interested of fans of that neutral ground to get
Mm-hmm.
invested in women's soccer. And I think because no matter if they're in the higher seed, I think they know like if the higher seed gets hosts, they know they're gonna pack the stadium with locals and everything. But I think what they're trying to do is trying to get other cities uh more involved into the game. And I think I like that a little bit more because I think the NWSL needs that more than just a packed stadium of the higher seed local fans, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, but I have a different take on it. I feel like if you were to be the NWSL and you're concerned about growing the culture of the game, you should do it at a neutral site, 100%. But you
Hmm.
should do it at a neutral site where there isn't already an established fan base.
True.
Maybe, just throwing it out there, what if this NWSL final, instead of the Bay Area, where Bay FC has been consistently growing and been pretty solid, um, maybe have it in Boston, where you're about to have a team,
Or Atlanta,
or Atlanta,
or
or Denver.
Denver,
A
or
question
or or, or the
market.
2028 team that is unnamed at the moment.
Exactly. There are billions of opportunities for you to grow the game in places where you either don't have a market yet or about to have a market or will never have a market. But
Okay.
eyes are eyes. I think maybe this is just me saying this. Maybe a bunch of Bay FC fans that are going to this game are just already invested in women's soccer. And is that
Yeah.
wonderful? Yes. But that creates a false sense of illusion for the growing culture of the game. Whereas if you put it in Boston, and yeah, you have the small group of Boston Legacy fans that have never seen their team play, but you see a bunch of people that have never seen NWSL play in their city, come out and support and and have that kind of different environment with the NWSL, and it allows the league to really gauge, hey, is this a team that would be really really successful? So I think neutral sites, I agree with you, is a fundamentally smart idea for what the NWSL is building right now, but I think they could do it a little smarter. Um, and in order for it to be like the giant spectacle that it is, and like I know the NFL, and it does it where NFL teams play. I know Champions League play, so like I know that the standard is play where teams already have stadiums, but you can take advantage of so much considering that your sport plays in some other teams' stadiums already, like PayPal Park. It's where the Earthquakes play, and that was their park before Bay FC. Like we can easily say, hey, Boston NWSL final, Gillette
Mhm.
Stadium. Um, let's say Denver. I don't know what their stadium is called. Pittsburgh. Let's do Highmark Stadium where the Riverhounds play. I don't know, but I do know that there's so much possibility to grow these kinds of markets organically and use these kind of events in a new way. And so yeah, that's I think that was a good conversation. I think we have one more thing to wrap up.
Yeah,
A little
y-
award.
yeah. Actually, I got two things. One more thing. Before I forgot something that we mentioned. It's just right now off the hip right now. ESPN. I just want to get your thoughts about this.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN. I don't know. They do the yearly survey with the NWSL GMs about their thoughts about this season and what their thoughts about the future is. I just want to throw some things out to you.
Mm-hmm.
They asked a series of questions. You know, the one question we want to highlight the most, but of course, the one of the questions was: is the salary cap holding the NWSL back? 85% of the GMs responded yes. The salary cap is holding the NWSL back. That was an interesting take that I thought was good. The GM's feedback about the trade consent, how does it affect on deals moving forward? Most of them said that it has limited transactions, so the deals are more or less common. Of course, the famous question: do NWSL teams do break rules? The majority said yes. 67% said that teams are breaking rules.
67%.
67%, yeah. And so I 6'7".
6'7", 6'7".
I think, and then of course I think the other questions were interesting about their take of expanding the teams to 32 teams.
Mm.
Berman, they were split 50-50. Said they will like it. Some people says that they did like it, unsure. Which city should the NWSL expand to? They say Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta has this. It was done before Atlanta was given one. The other thoughts were Cincinnati, Miami, Austin, and Philadelphia. And then my interesting thoughts about was that which of the 14 teams actively is holding the league back? Interesting
That
enough,
the
interesting enough,
dash aren't in there.
even though they should be on it, but they're not in there. They should be on it. Out of the what 13 years, 13, probably 13, 14 years in this league. No, 11 years. 12 years it could be now because last year was 10 years. Last year was 10 years. This year was 11. So on the season back, they all voted for Chicago Stars as the
Well, that
team that was
checks
holding.
out.
Yeah, check out. But I thought Houston, despite this season, I think they should have been on this list.
Okay, on the list, yeah.
Yeah, on the list because they have Chicago Stars and then tied for second, three-way tied for Racing Louisville. I don't think
Who got the coach of the year?
who got Coach of the Year and they're in the playoffs. Well, they got eliminated, but they were in the playoffs. Uh, North Carolina Courage. I think more of that because of the the documentary
Mm,
about abuse. I think that was mostly a hit on that. There are
mm-hmm.
other legacies before that. They were the team to go to. Utah Royals. I can see that why. Second time in the league, still disastrous. Bay FC. And so I think that was pretty much it. And then of course the question that I wanted to hear the most was that the NWSL plan to launch a second division league is a good idea. The majority said yes.
Yeah, because
So
it is.
yeah, that's it
It's a
needs
great
it
idea.
needs it. And then of course for you a question that you by spark your interest is the college pipeline still relevant without a draft? And 95% said yes.
I think it makes it even more important without a draft. I think I
Yeah.
agree. I think the college pipeline is made so much easier
Hmm.
without a draft because teams have a liberty to scout even more players.
Yeah.
When you have, like, let's just say the 12th pick in the NWSL draft, you're like, wow, that's a pretty high pick. I need to make a smart choice here. So you're gonna look at the Dukes, the Houstons, you're gonna look at the Pitts, you're gonna look at
Mhm.
all the bigger schools. But now it's a free for all. Now you can kind of really sign whoever you'd like and kind of give them that shot. So now you're going to look at the smaller schools like the North Texases. You're going to look at maybe the Maines, maybe the Fordhams. Sorry to throw my school in. But you're going to look at the smaller schools too because you have now the time and the resources to do it because you're not limited by a single pick. Um, and then so I think the college pipeline is especially important because let's see, let's say
Let's say as Diego starts choking to death.
let's say for example you have um, a player that scores 16 goals this season for Duquesne. Actually happened, by the way. I don't remember her name, but actually happened. And you're like, I really like her style of play, but I don't know. It's the A10. It's not the strongest conference. Let me sign her to the second team, see if she develops. I think the
Yeah.
second division is going to create such an easier pipeline because it's going to give college players an opportunity to really prove themselves and an opportunity to develop themselves without being thrown into the fire. Because, like, Maggie Graham, if you saw Maggie Graham at Duke, you knew she was going to be special. And so throwing her into the fire, yeah, nobody's surprised that she's going to do so well because she was built for it. But like a player maybe played in the MAC or something like that, maybe she isn't as equipped for it right at the get go. And that's okay. But does that mean she isn't potentially going to make it into a really good professional player? No, I think it's all about giving players a better opportunity to grow, and I think a second division will make the college pipeline so much easier from college to pro.
Return of the Mac. Huh? Return. She was
Return of
lied. I was,
Radigan. Return.
I was gonna say, oh my god, she lied. Like, no, but no, I think it's just that. I think it's good too. I think
Mhm,
it's you want to have you know how like the MLS have it with MLS Pro. You want to have those players in the same locker room training with the first team and develop. So but we'll see how that goes for them. But it's a lot of good questions, a lot of interesting thoughts. Hopefully next year's poll with the GMs is gonna be a lot interesting as well to see another
mhm.
year. Hopefully with the second division, see how that goes and see how things run up. But like you mentioned, we did have some
We have
announcement last
some
week.
award winners.
Last week, Avery Patterson was voted for Defender of the Year, and tonight, bum, 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 she did not win.
She
So
didn't win.
she did not win. So Tara McEwen won Defender of the Year, justfully cause.
Yeah.
I think she deserves that more for coming.
Same.
If you look at her history, coming from a striker position to a
Hmm.
defender last year, and this year just solidify herself as a star defender. So I think it just justfully she deserves that
Hmm.
award. But other news, Avery Patterson did successfully got into the best 11 for
11 in
the
the world. I
for
mean,
the
in
NWSL season. On the host to Rudy, who says was not the best defender for the dash. Shout out
who
to
did he say was the best defender on the dash?
he said Page News. No, Jacobs. Ali Jacobs was the best defender for the. I know he's he. I know. I me and Dustin
Huh?
texted. Me and Dustin texted him, like he said what he said. So I was like, okay. So
Oh gosh.
but I'm just gonna lay it out right there. So but justly so, Avery Patterson, what was it, won the Houston the rewards. I think it was on last Friday.
It
Last
was
Friday,
last
yeah, yeah. That she won, the MVP for the dash season as well. And so, of course, you had also other players that won other rewards that I cannot think of right now. Uh,
year.
but
If
but
I
I
had
know
my phone on me, I would be able to check.
well,
But
I got it right here. I got it right here. So you
no, no,
got
good.
of course uh, Avery Patterson of MVP for the dash. Yasmin Ryan as the Golden Boot and newcomer. You got Paige Nielsen as Defender of the Year. Obviously slow because Houston Dynamo FC doesn't like rewarding two players, like a player two rewards. So if every one MVP, she can one defender. So Paige is the automatic default after her. Maggie Graham is the Rookie of the Year or quote unquote Young Player of the Year, and Katie Lynn as the Player of the Year. So that's your rewards. So for that season, but Avery Patterson definitely so deserves it of her uptick this year because I think because she deserves it because the beginning of this year she was called up for the U.S. national team and just never looked back.
Yeah.
So so it's a good. Hopefully the Dash can lock her down for another, extend her contract, get her paid like she needs to. She needs to get paid if she wants to stay. If she
Get
wants to
that
understand,
money.
get it paid. Show me that money.
Show me the money.
I know. So she definitely needs to get paid. So we'll see on that. But that's pretty much it for this week's
Yeah.
episode.
Good
So
episode.
now for sure we can say this is one of the last episodes
Yeah.
we have until a while. Until I think until something major happens, either we get a new owner or we get a new huge signing, or I think until the NWSL blueprint and schedule comes out, then we'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you all for supporting us and talking again. It's gonna be a good break now officially until the next time
Sounds
we
great.
meet. But thank you
Until
for all.
very, very
I know. Thank you for all for tuning in again. The Bayou City Soccer Network, Orange and Blueprints. Please reach out for us at biocitysoccer.net on socials on Instagram, on X, YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads, Bayou City Soccer. And thank you for all. Thank you. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. Any last words, Diego?
no,
Officially now,
just
we do.
great episode to finish it out on, and excited for the next season. Unfortunately to you, Manny, I'm excited to tease the schedule and to kind of be happy about thinking about 2026. But
Yeah. Thank you all for coming up, and thank you for all just for being with us again. So remember to hold it down and see you all next time. Peace.
peace.